Right. Hello, everyone. Now you're here for a really exclusive and an in-person only session. This is not going a live stream anywhere. And that's because what I'm going to show you is how can you go ahead and hack your conference badge, all right? So I'm sure you might have seen this around, floating around with many folks. You might have seen many hubbers and stars and maintainers and many folks wearing this. And I'm going to be telling you a little bit more about what's so cool about this and how you can go ahead and customize it and do a whole lot of things. And also for those of you who might be around, if you want one of these, I'm going to tell you how you can get them at the end of my session as well, all right? Okay, great. So let me get started. First of all, I'm Karan. I'm on the GitHub DevRel team. And, I'm one of the folks, along with a couple of them who worked on getting this across to all of you folks. So it's really awesome, and I would love to tell you more about this, okay? So first of all, what you see out over here is a very special edition of the Pimmeroni Badger 2040. All right, so it's something that's created by folks at Pimmeroni, and it runs on a Raspberry Pi 2040. All right, so it has all of the chip and everything else that you would need right at the back, and it's electronically and digitally very, very similar to what you would find in the Badger 2040 as well, but it has a whole lot more customization specifically for GitHub. I'm pretty sure all of those of you who have it also might not be aware of the things that are, right within it. All right, so let me show you what all is in there first of all, and then how you can go ahead and customize it. All right, so firstly, you have to power it on. Now you might be wondering that, hey, how is it showing without any power? Because that's an e-ink display, so whatever you have it flashed right before you pull up the power, that's what's going to be showing up. So I'm going to just power it up using my USB cable out over here. You can also attach, just a battery pack right in the behind, so you can, change things on the fly. But I'm gonna just attach my USB over here. All right. So I'm not sure if you can see, but a tiny LED comes up which shows that the power is on. Now, here's where it all starts. There's already a bunch of things that's built in right into the custom image that we have created for GitHub Universe itself. So here, when you go and then, you see this interface, if you just press on C, you can see your GitHub contribution graph come up, all right, right within this display. So this is my contribution graph for the past 6 months that can be seen. And if I press the down button, you can also see the past 6 months, all right? So 1 year of the contribution graph is right over there in this tiny small display, all right? So one of the main key things of your GitHub profile itself is right over there, okay? So now I'm gonna go back to the badge, and by the way, the QR code that you see over there, that's just your GitHub profile. So you can actually take it to anyone and then say, hey, you wanna follow me on GitHub? That's the QR code that folks can use to scan, all right? Now, that's not all. There's a whole lot more that comes just right within the image itself. So if I just click on A, that takes me to what's called the launcher, all right? So there's a whole lot of apps, and all of this is written and built in MicroPython, so you can go ahead and customize a whole lot of things as well. I'm going to show you that in a bit, but let's just go and then see what all is there. There's this clock, and then, there's fonts, etc. One of the things that I would really encourage you to check out is if you go press on ebook, the letter C, you wouldn't see anything over here for now. But in the custom image, you can see the story of Mona the Octocat, all right? So in case you are not aware of Mona the Octocat and the backstory behind it, you can read it right within over here, okay? That's one thing. And now if you have to go back to the launcher, you can again just hold together A and C buttons together at once. So if I press that, you go back into the launcher, and there's a bunch of other things. There are a few images as well, so you can just press A to select the image, and you can see, a nice, neat little image of Mona as well. on a bunch of other things as well. So you can put in any image that you want. So you can, literally grab a JPEG or a PNG and then say, okay, I want to have this image on my badger and then showcase it to folks. You can use that as well and do that as well. So I'm going to go back again and go check out what the list has to offer. All right. Wow. There's a checklist right over there. So in case you're wondering, hey, I'm at GitHub Universe, and probably for day 2, if there are things that I want to do, you have a checklist that's right there. Keynote, check. Hack badge, if you're right here, you can check that off. And then Hubot, check. Chat with everyone else, check. And of course, eat, sleep, code, and learn. And my own personal favorite is to repeat. So you can create your own checklist and customize all of those as well. So again, I'm going to go back into the launcher and then show you. Badge was what I showed you, which was the default as well. And if I go back again, there's also QR codes that are out over there. So if you really want just a really simple, handy QR code to go check out the GitHub Universe schedule, you can do that by scanning right over here as well. All right. So a bunch of things that are already over there, but where it gets exciting is when you can actually customize everything over here just with simple Python code, okay? So let's actually get to that. First, I'm going to go back into the launcher and open up my badge, all right? So it shows the badge that I've been showing for a while now. But let's go ahead and customize all of these things. Now, the way that you can do this is, since I already have it plugged into my USB, I can just open up a Python interpreter on my machine and then go ahead and then start customizing all of it. It's super simple, so let's just get to it. All right, so I'm going to just hold up the badge here for now. So you can see one of the customizations that's very simple that I would want to do is probably add my pronouns as well over here right next to my GitHub handle. So let's just see how that can be done. So I'm going to open up Tawny over here, which is a Python interpreter. For some reason, it always hides. So I'm going to go back and open it right over here. All right. So here on the bottom right, you can see in very, very small letters that it's connected to the RP2040, all right? And you actually get a really neat Python prompt as well over there to do a bunch of things. And I want to call your attention here to the left. This is where all of the customizations can happen and be really, really cool, all right? Now, if you want to see what's the code that's actually running behind this badge.py, you can just open this up. And this is where there's a bunch of things that's happening. That's where the QR code is coming into place. That's where, the header is being drawn, the text, the GitHub handle, and a whole bunch of things. But the cool thing is you don't really have to worry about all of this as well, because all of this text is coming from this simple badge.txt. That's what is showing up on your badge. So if I just go ahead and then add my pronouns right over here, all right? And I'm just going to hit on save. You wouldn't see anything update. It would have just flashed it right onto the device. But to get it updated, there's a secret sauce. You just have to stand up and jump 3 times. I'm just kidding, of course not. What you have to do is there are 2 buttons right over here and the behind, which is called boot and reset. All right. So if you just press on reset, what it's going to do is it's going to bring up all of the programs that's running on the badge once again, and then launch the badge. And it almost feels like a magician. I'm just showing that there's nothing happening, and then ta-da! You can see that there's already the pronouns that's come into place, and you can notice that the pronouns have been added over here. All right. That's pretty cool. You can go ahead and then change whatever you want right over there within the badge interface. But that's not all it. You can do a whole bunch of things as well. And let me show you again here on my machine. So right now, because there is this badge.py Python script that's going on, I'm going to hit on stop over here. that will stop the ongoing process, and then it's going to show you a bunch of other things. All right. Now, if I just go on to readme.txt, there it is. So there's a bunch of README over here as well. Well, let's be honest. What's a fun hackathon project if there's no README, right? That's where there is a readme.txt where you can go check out how you can get started in this link pymoroni over here and a bunch of other things that you can do as well. But before that, let me also show you how the other things that I just showed you looks like. So if I just go into checklist, this was the checklist that I showed you. Very, very simple, right? You want to add more items to the checklist, just keep adding more lines. Similarly, this is the story of Mona. So in case you want to have something else that you want to refer to within your badger, you can just go ahead and update this. And similarly, whoops, please don't update this and make everything into 5 so that your GitHub badge contribution graph is really green. Let's stay authentic on this one. So there's a bunch of other things as well. And if you want to do something as simple as hello world, this is how you would do it. All right. So you just do an import of badger, the class, start, use a pen, use the font called sans, and then set a line thickness, and then just write to screen. All right. So let's go ahead and then run that and then see what happens. So I'm just going to run this current script, which says hello world.py. So you can see that the screen refreshes for a bit. And there it is. You can see, let's build from here. All right. So a bunch of cool things that can happen and you can do with it. And you can also, in fact, go back and then customize the whole thing that you want, because all of it is actually open source. So if you go into the GitHub repo, which I'm going to show you in a while, you can go and customize what all you want as a default, create a UF2 image, flash it, and do a bunch of things as well. So if you're creating anything that's really custom, anything that's really cool, we'd love to know more about that from you. So go ahead and then share it on social, and also tweet to us, include at GitHub, include at Pymoroni. I'm not yet done, because it so happens that we're very lucky we have the co-founder of Pymoroni who creates these badges right over here with us. So I would like to invite on stage Paul Beach, aka at Guru. That's his GitHub handle and Twitter as well. And he runs Pymoroni that does these original badges. Welcome, Paul.
How's it all going? Good.
And there is Paul's custom badge as well.
Yeah, doing nothing at the moment because I have no batteries with me. So.
And that's the amazing thing. Even without batteries, the badge functionality still works, right?
Yep, e-ink, magic stuff.
Awesome. So, of course, Paul, what you see over here is the special edition of the GitHub Badger 2040, right?
Absolutely.
So, what's the one thing that you personally love about this? Because I'm sure you would have seen many of these other ones as well.
So I think for me, kind of aesthetics are what made people care about hardware. Green circuit boards are kind of boring, and people say, that's not for me. You make something like this, and suddenly people say, oh, okay, that's interesting, I want to look into this. It drives interest, it drives creativity. And you've got the specific apps on here. And the one thing we did that made these e-ink badges interesting is that kind of MicroPython OS we put on top that has the scripts which look like applications. So you've got this familiar paradigm of apps on there that really lead you into hacking around with embedded Python. And that was the bit of magic we did that made these more than just hardware.
Absolutely, and I can really vouch for that, because while we were creating all of these images, it really felt very, very familiar because of the app paradigm. It was just about going ahead and then hacking around a bunch of MicroPython scripts, and also really, really easy to create your own UF2 images and flash it across, because everything runs on GitHub Actions, right?
Yep.
All of the builds that are needed to build your final UF2 image and get it onto this badge is just one single probably GitHub action that can build the final UF2 image and then flash it on.
Yeah, you look at that, MicroPython is just this very deep and quite sprawling project, covering as it does many kinds of hardware, the smallest ARM chips up to something more complicated. And we're running a fork of that that has what we call batteries included, where it has drivers for sensors and things like that. But we have one guy who's kind of at the head of that, maintaining it, and without actions, he would be a broken man.
Oh well, that's a great way to put it out there. All right, so Paul, one thing that I hear about a lot, especially when I see folks walking around with these patches, is that hey, this is super tiny. There's no batteries, and I can't even kind of figure out where the microcontroller is, etc. Um, what's the craziest or the best thing that you can do with this tiny device out over here?
That's the big question. What you've got here is the Cortex M0. It's ARM's smallest kind of core at the moment. So where your biggest ARM cores are running kind of 5, 10 watts or more, this runs on milliwatts. It sips power. And yet, it will run Doom.
Wow.
Somebody has ported Doom to this.
Wow. So this, with this e-ink
Little thing.
display and the RP2040 can run Doom.
Yeah, well, this e-ink display, normally you get all-in-one displays where you tell it what image to show, it updates, and you leave it to it. This one, we get a bit more power. This, you can do dirty updates, you can do quick updates, and if you do it, you will break the display a bit quicker than you should do, but it'll do multiple frames per second, and that's enough to do Doom on this if you want. So anyone who cracks that nut, show me on Twitter, wherever, and I will send you congratulations, because that would be an achievement. Take
Absolutely.
the Doom code, take the ink code.
Absolutely.
Smash them
Do
up.
do let us know as well if you happen to try that out. And also, I see there are a whole lot of other pinouts as well out over here, Paul. So, what do you think can be done crazy even with those? Because it's not just the e-ink display, but you also have all of the pinouts for the Raspberry Pi as well.
Yeah, we have some pinouts here, so you can get a serial port there, or I2C, which is great for hooking up sensors. We also have the I2C port over here, and you can get kind of ready-made sensors that hook up with one cable. So you can do things like plug in CO2 sensors, and then you can very easily, with MicroPython, show live CO2 stats, so you can work out how good the air you're breathing is. You can do other things, temperature, humidity, UV radiation, all kinds of things. So that's one way of doing it, sensors. That's good. Also, the USB port. You can plug it in and program kind of MicroPython over it, but this processor, using tiny USB, you can use it in device mode. So this could show up as a gamepad or a keyboard to your computer, and then you can start using it as a peripheral. You can also use it in host mode, where you could plug in a keyboard to this, and this could read the keyboard. So, it can do anything. There's immense power and versatility in here, and that rabbit hole goes awfully deep. MicroPython is up here. You can go all the way down to the bare metal C, which is what that custom MicroPython is. It's all C at the bottom there. So, yeah, deep stuff.
Well, so basically what it means is that if you add some sensors out over here, you can be a walking, talking weather machine, for sure, or even anything else,
Yeah.
right? Amazing. And I know I mentioned this a little bit briefly before as well, Paul, and a whole lot of the custom fork and everything else, including the examples, are actually open source, right?
Yeah.
Would you mind talking a little bit about that? How does that work, and how has it been for you folks?
I think ever since we started making things for kind of the Raspberry Pi and these kind of things, open source software was one of the easiest ways to kind of offer support for them. We can't do everything that people want to do. We start off with ideas, but people want to do all sorts with them. The easiest way to do that is make good software, put it out there, vigorously open source, so people can take it, remix it, contribute to it, and improve it. And so I think everything we've released, it has open source software to support the drivers, but also the schematics of how this thing is hooked up, so people can find out what the quirks are and how to kind of run it, and where it might break and where they can hack it. Yeah.
Awesome. So that was great, Paul. One final thing that I would really love to show folks is that if you're actually starting off with one of the base Badger 2040 images, you can actually build in all of these customizations yourself as well. So we have added it to a GitHub repo so that you can get started with it. So let me quickly show you that as well. If I can manage to bring up my screen brightness. All right. So I'm gonna.
It's okay.
Oh yes, thank you, Paul. Sometimes neither do I remember it. All right, so let me bring up. Okay, so great. So if you just head over to this repo, I'm gonna just increase the brightness. Badger 2040 slash Badger Bodger. All right, that was not me who selected the name. But if you just go into that, you also have instructions on how you can customize your badge, how you can add all of the contribution graph that's needed, and also just build out the entire image that's needed. And you can also go ahead and then explore some of the other examples as well that are there on the Pimoroni website that has a ton of other things on how you can get started, and do a whole bunch of other stuff as well. So it's a great starting point for you folks to get started. And in case, I'm pretty sure that if you want to update your contribution graph tomorrow to reflect your latest contributions today, if you happen to do any, you can do that as well just by heading over and then running bots.sh from this repo and then copying over all of the contribution.txt and everything else that's required. So that was the hackable badge over here, and how you can actually do a whole lot of things and a whole lot of customizations, change your badge.py and change your badge.txt, the contribution graph, and it's literally whatever you can think on showing on this. Is that 296 by 128? On this 296 by 128 display, you can do any of that right over here. So it's really, really cool. And anything else that you want to add as a final note, Paul?
Sirens, always. Yeah, I think the best thing about this is it's a great way for software people to get into hardware. Hardware seems hard, doesn't need to be. This is definitely the gateway for that. We've seen it so many times, and it's built to encourage that. So give it a try.
Absolutely. And if you already have one, I will explain enough of how you can get started. If not, just hang on to the next section, and then probably you might be able to get one. So thank you, everyone, and hope you have fun customizing the badge and then adding whatever else that's needed to get up and running with your badge.txt, with your badge.py. Just remember, if you happen to create anything that's custom and you wanna do something else, do let us know. Tweet out to us at GitHub, at Pimoroni. We'd love to see what you're creating with just the small RP 2040 out over here. So thank you once again, Paul, for creating this for us in such a beautiful way, and then just building this into what everyone really loves over here.
It's a pleasure to do so.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. And I know I told you, if you want one of these, just hang on to the next section, where my very good friend and colleague, Damien Brady, Demovisa, if he's around, is gonna take it away right from here.
And we'll be signing them as well, won't we?
Sorry?
If you want one autographed, just let us know,
Absolutely.
We're not too proud to do that. Yeah.
All right.